it, Sarah. All day. Hell yeah.
Arm wrestling's about to take place.
Yeah.
Bachman pulled Gabby again for the rematch. This was pretty crazy because, I thought it was going to be a lot closer. Sarah's looking tremendous. I got to train with Sarah recently, and I see the work she puts in, man. I mean, she is dedicated. So, I was kind of a little surprised that Gabby came in and was so dominating. And what about you, brother? Did you expect that?
First couple of rounds was how I expected it. The later rounds, I have to agree with Travis Bajan on this. If Sarah was a little bit more like Travis Bajan, get some false starts in there, put some bullets into her arm, like her hand wasn't sticking with her in that fourth round. She's beating Sarah out here. And I thought, no, if Sarah was a little bit more patient, didn't worry about the win, didn't worry about the pin, just put some bullets into Gabby's arm, cop a foul, get a warning for a false start, cop the foul for another false start, and not even like false starting here, like just going all the way. That's the rules. And most experienced arm wrestlers, we know once the go starts, everyone else is interested in that. We can see what's going to happen before the go because we've seen the build up. So that's the interesting shit to the arm wrestlers. And I thought, Sarah may have won if she was a little bit more tactical minded, just how Travis explained. And I have to agree because, Gabby's hand was blown by the end of that. And that ain't nothing. First couple of rounds were very dominant, of course, but I thought another thing, I think it's a lot closer than it looked.
The only thing I got to say, though, is I did hit up Gabby after and just checked up on her and all. But I think she got hurt. She said that that fourth round, something happened or whatever, and she was going to go get it looked at and all. So I don't know what the results are of that. But, she definitely hurt herself round 4.
I hope she gets better, but that's a little bit ironic, no?
Yeah, right? The time before that, it was Sarah on the other end of getting the injury and all. But this is my question now is for both of them, bro. I just feel like these two ladies are in their own, like, universe. I mean, Gabby, like, who is even able to go against it? Like, who could we put up against her?
Exactly. Like, genetics play a huge role. I think more so in the women's than it does with the men. And I think Engen touched on this a while ago. We're talking about just like the anatomy of the average woman's wrist. Not the anatomy, the dimensions of their wrist. They're very fine boned. So when you get someone that like Gabby, who has naturally, she's a strong, stocky looking woman and has that little bit of a thicker wrist, it's so hard to compete as a woman, like coming up to that. Like these women have got to be arm wrestlers from the age of 5. You know what I mean? To be able to compete with someone to get to Gabby's level, where it's a lifelong thing. Like she's genetically gifted, and I think the disparities between genetics with the women are far greater than men. We see in our division it almost doesn't matter how you're built. You can find a way to win. But that's just because we're more robustly built. There might be something that a little bit of a thinner wrist, like Greg Gray, for example, skinniest wrist I've ever seen, strong ass hand, strong ass bicep, and his elbow's made of iron. And he's done really, really well. We don't see that level of success with the full variance of genetics like we have in women. So, but that might be a population thing, like there's not that many women in it. So we're going to see, we've got the freaks up here. It's like when Ronda Rousey started out. She was killing everyone until you got that one bad motherfucker come in and makes it look like chump change, So we're not seeing that as often in the female arm wrestling as we do in the men's.
You know what it is too is with the Ronda Rousey is she brought in so many women just doing what she did, and then she brought in all these new women. So now you have like a whole big playing field, and of course, one or two are going to stick out, and, they got her number, and that's kind of like the evolution of MMA. We're kind of going through the same process with arm wrestling.
So the advantage that Sarah has is she's young. She'll have it over Gabby soon.
And the other thing about Sarah is the work ethic that she puts in. I seen it firsthand, and wow, I mean, obsession is not even a word. I mean, she's in that gym. Well, it helps when your husband owns the big gym in the area, and you know what I mean, and she's there 4 to 8 hours a day, just training and getting ready for arm wrestling. So it's
smart
not the.
Too. I think taking this loss, she's going to take. Maybe she'll take Travis up on coaching. Be very, very, very clever move for her to approach Travis for training.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. So the other big match that went down that day was Wagner Berlado versus Hermes Gasparini. What did you think of that, man? So Hermes got the win 4-1.
Yeah, Wagner got hurt, right?
Did he get hurt? Oh, yeah, he did. Yes, he did get hurt.
Yeah, it's a real shame. The dude's just a beast. I saw him deadlifting. What is it, like 750 for a double? And he doesn't have a powerlifting background, And just to start, I'm going to start doing deadlifts and start pulling those numbers. Very impressive. Very impressive athlete. I wonder, I look at his training and it's almost like a parody. Like I wonder, like his training is outrageous. And I think, oh man, like I wonder if he too, like kind of reined it all down a little bit and focused more on the arm wrestling and had a coach or something like that. Maybe like a Giannis or something like that might suit him, and see where he could go, because he does a lot of general strength sort of stuff. I don't know the degree of specific work that he does, or I'm not sure, but like a little bit more focus on the guy. And then, he's a complete animal. And he's just on this linear, perpetual rise. Like how far is he going to go? We don't know. Like how long is a piece of string?
Who do you think should be next for him? There's a lot of names shooting around, hearing a lot of people saying Dave Chafee, a lot of people saying Devin Lorette, a lot of people saying Jerry Cataract. I was just on with Jerry earlier today, and Jerry's calling out Hermes. He wants it. Who do you think should be next?
That's the best match. I think that's the best match, Jerry. I think Devin's probably a little too far ahead, although it might be closer than we think. I'm not going to say why because I'm always stirring the pot.
Oh, no, you got it now, brother.
Well, I made a comment a while ago that since Michael Todd has been rendered back to ordinary pads, we've seen a return of the form that he had before WAL, which is not number one in the world.
Okay.
Still, like, again, incredible arm wrestler, extremely proficient. Like, you can't deny anything that Michael Todd has done. He's done amazing. I know Rebecca got a little bit upset with me when I suggested that the win that Devin had over Michael Todd was so dominant largely because of the pads. And of course, Devin really leveled up. So it was a controversial topic. And I think it's a mix of two things. I think if it was on the bigger pads, it might have looked closer. He's gotten a lot of success with those bigger pads because of that move he uses, and before WAL, still one of the best in the world. Cannot take that away from him. But I think that's the difference between him being top 10 and number one might be those pads. Maybe. I mean, look at the last couple of matches that he's had on regular pads. He's not performed to his expectation either. We don't know if that's a training thing. It could be an age thing. It could be a motivation thing. But, I mean, these are the things we just have to look at. And it's not a criticism. It's just a reality that the pads do make a difference. How much of a difference? We don't know. But that's something that I noticed. You know, and I think at this point it's maybe a fair deduction.
Yeah, that definitely is something to look at. I never really thought of that like that. Yeah, wow, that is definitely something to look at.
Yeah, because like I know when I'm being King's moved, and if they've got further back to pull me out, my press, I can't get it as far in as I need it to be to really get my frame behind it and press down on that arm, because they've pulled me out that much further away from my shoulder. And arm wrestling is a sport of millimeters. So if you're giving me 2 inches, that's 50 millimeters. When we're talking 5 mil difference can make a difference, you know, like it is significant. It absolutely is. So
Yeah,
you know,
that brings up a lot of questions with a lot of the pullers and in their styles, you know. And another person that comes to mind with that would be Travis Bagent, and you know, like having that extra 2 inches of head, you know, gave him a little more room to play and get away from Jerry and all that kind of stuff also. So, and I think that kind of worked against Jerry because you know these guys are able to get away, they're able to run back.
Yeah. And the argument that Jerry made was like, why can't we have an inch back and an inch at the front? Level it out. Why we go 2 inches back and not at the front? For someone who comes forward versus someone who goes backwards, you know, it is unfair, you know. And I noticed that because my way out of a King's move is press. It's a tight hook and a hard press. And yeah, being able to come forward that extra little bit would be very helpful. So, you know, it is controversial and people don't really like to talk about it, but I'm not taking away the wins of Michael Todd, who was clever enough to exploit the rules. I mean, when we were doing WOW rules, they said all slips go to straps. This was before my hand was as strong as it is now, and I just went, fuck it, see ya. Right? I used the rules to my advantage, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. And Michael Todd was clever enough to adapt better than anyone at doing that. So, you know, hats off to him.